Hello, Christy here. Let me show you a quick effect in Descript, how to create a typewriter effect for text. This is very easy to achieve and it leverages the new animations that Descript introduced a while ago, and it works on text elements and you can control most of the features. Let me show you how it works. I just have a blank composition here. It's not even video yet. It's just a basic composition. And if I go to elements on the right-hand side, you can add a number of types of text elements. I'll just use the subtitle. You can just use the plain text or the title. It doesn't matter. Click subtitle and it just puts it on the screen. It activates the canvas or the scene editor as it's called right now. And here you can customize some of the options like the size of the text, the font, and the font size and, thickness and all that stuff. So you can just drag these things around. But I want to play with the typewriter effect. So I want to have this text come in letter by letter. So I'm just going to double click and say typewriter effect. Okay, so just have some text in here to work with. And then if you go to animation here on this little bar that shows up, you can add two types of animations, well, three, an in and an out, and then you can add a custom animation if you want to use keyframes. You don't need to use that for this particular effect. All you need to do is add an in animation, and you can do either a fade or a appear. And I recommend appear because it will show up instantly for every letter. So I can choose appear, and then I have some options here that I can customize. For example, what is the duration of the animation, right? So if I want the typewriter effect to last for a while, I may choose in here about 5 seconds or longer, and the letter will appear slower. And then don't worry about the easing because this is something to do with motion. You need to change this option here, animate by, instead of word, you animate by character, which means this controls what happens, what is actually animated, the entire thing, or you can have the entire line if you have multiple lines, and paragraph, or you just say character, which makes every letter appear and use this transition on its own. So click character here, and let's see. I am expanding this timeline. I'm using the new timeline, but it doesn't need to be there. So I'm just going to click play to see how this works. I'm just going to deselect and click play. So as you can see, the space also uses one of the animations. So right now it takes 5 seconds for this to appear because I added 5 seconds for the effect. If you want it longer, you may have to extend this particular scene. Also, you can click on the text itself to select it. You can select it down here in the timeline, or you can just click on it on the screen. And let's say animation, and we have this appear. I'm going to go to options. And from 5 seconds, I'm going to go to 2 seconds. That's going to be much faster. So, by the way, there's a cool thing in here. If you want to preview what you're changing on this animation, you can play this little button here, and it will play just the animation, and it's going to use these settings that you change. So you can play with it and preview without clicking the play button all the time. But you can always put your play here at the beginning there and play again. So you can see now this is much faster because I chose 2 seconds. So then it works much faster and my scene is 5 seconds long. And by the way, you can also apply these transitions at the end. And for that, you need to choose out. So select the object again. And in the animation, you can say add animation. And now I can add an out animation. And I'll just make this a fade. And I will choose 2 seconds. And I'm going to fade characters as well. So let's see what this does. You notice in the timeline at the bottom, the animation is represented by this line that shows up. And here, this is the end of the animation. It's like a keyframe if you want. And this is the beginning of the out animation. And if you don't want to open this dialog box to change the duration, you can also grab these little dots down here and move them to change the duration of the animation. So if I move it here, it makes it shorter. So let's see now if it fades in with the typewriter effect, and every letter should fade out if it's not a bug. Let's see. There you go. So you can control the in and the out differently, separately for every letter, every word, every line, every paragraph. So I hope this helps. If you want to learn Descript with me, check the link in the description to book a coaching call with me one-on-one, and I will be happy to walk you through all the questions you have about Descript and teach you whatever you need to know. See you next time.